I believe we're being video and audio recorded. This is the Finance Subcommittee meeting for January 14th. Councilor Kwasinski is not able to be with us tonight.
How is he?
He's getting better. He hasn't been able to drive yet, but he'll be starting out for short trips tomorrow, he says, so hopefully. First thing on the agenda is the minutes from the prior meeting. I did see them, and I'll make a motion we accept the minutes from December 16th. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Mayor's communication.
I'm all set, thanks.
All set. Public speak, anyone here in the public? Why don't we take Joe's up and then, because it probably will be shorter than the rail trail, or at least only because the packet's thicker for rail trail safety. And I know yours, we already have a public hearing set for the next council meeting, Joe, because we were busy, and this is the $17,500 supplemental appropriation for 4 heaters, and it sounds like one is so old it's wired direct or something, so it's running constantly.
That's right.
Well, maybe this time of year it'd be running constantly anyway, but these last few days.
And then we've got one in motor repair that's, we're hoping it's going to make it another month or so because they're that bad. These things were put in when the building was built in the 70s.
These are all in the Northampton Street.
All of them.
All of them.
And we're not looking to have the temperature in there at 75 degrees, but we certainly need it in there warm enough so that we can start the trucks in the morning and they can thaw out at night and so forth. And then the water heater, it's got a tag on it. I think it says 1968 on it or something. And it's awful wet around the bottom. One of these days we're going to go in there and we're going to have a pond. So it's stuff that's got to be done.
Just or a skating rink because there's no heat.
Yeah,
right.
Skating rink, right.
We could turn it over to recreation.
Goodness, that work is.
Right. Yeah.
Do you still have, and maybe this is not related, do you still have the one that you used to take the waste oil and?
Yes, we do.
You still
do.
take that? Or?
We do. We still burn the motor oil. But what's happening is we're finding we're getting less and less motor oil brought to us.
Right.
We feel that people find it easier just to go to someplace like Jiffy Lube.
It's cheaper now. Because I bring my oil all the time, and before it used to be a big difference in price.
Yeah.
Now it's almost the same price, so people are just forgetting.
Cars go long. You don't have to change it every 3,000. You change it every 5,000.
Right.
Well, so I used to change my own oil, but now I can't get to the oil filter because they're so way up underneath and stuff. Unless I jack it up, and I don't feel I want to go under the car. I've jacked up, so just in case. So you do use them. It's just you're not getting as much.
Right. We'll use it till we don't have any more, and then we got to switch to gas.
Councilor Rist, do you have any questions?
No, it's an obvious need. I move that we approve.
I'll second that. We have a motion, a second to approve the supplemental appropriation. Joe did get 3 quotes. I guess one didn't come back, but the other 2. And so I'll make a motion we approve or ask the council to approve the $17,500 supplemental appropriation. No, I got to say any further discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Very good.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
The folder for the snow emergency.
Yeah, I'll get it back to Barbara or
drop it off.
Did you sign it already?
I only got a couple. Rather than hold up the meeting, I'll do it first. Good.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Moving on to new business. Supplemental appropriation $400,000 for improvements to the Manhan Rail Trail corridor. Here comes the
Just in time.
Just in time.
So
Just if you could give, I'm very familiar with it because of the CPA, and we had several, just to let Dan know, we met, I want to say at least 2, if not 3 times on it, and there was back and forth, and Jessica could explain, I think the mill owners are putting in some maintenance type money too.
They are?
But I'll let Jessica.
Sure. So we approached the CPA when we were filing the last round of MassWorks grant, and we just wrapped up phase 1 for the Mills project. When we had our conversations with the state, they came out for a site visit. We talked to them about applying for the second round, and they basically said to us, We will not fund you unless the city puts money on the table, puts some skin in the game on this. We've given you a great amount of money at this point. We've already appropriated,
And
you
who
know,
is them?
the executive office of housing and economic development. It was Secretary Greg Bielecki,
Okay.
who's no longer appointed new governor, but he was head of that office. And so,
Housing, I'm sorry, I want to.
no, it's okay. Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development. EOE. EOHED.
And we have received a
Housing and-
grant previously for phase 1 from them?
Correct. So we received $2.75 million in 2002 with the MassWorks grant. We then received $1.5 million in 2013 with another MassWorks grant. And then we submitted a grant in 2014. And this is when they said, okay, we've already given you 2 rounds of funding. If we're going to fund you a 3rd round, the municipality needs to put some skin in the game.
So how much is the grant and how much?
So then
How much, what's the difference?
So the CPA generously earmarked money for us, didn't appropriate it, but earmarked it so that we could go back to the state and say, we have an earmark from the CPA committee as we're moving forward with our grant application. Because of that earmark, we were able to secure the 3rd round of funding, which was $2,991,834. So that was,
So when we add, do we add 400 to that, or?
so then you add 400 to that. So the project total is $7.2 million.
So this is corridor improvements from the
Correct.
Eastworks all the way to here?
All the way down to almost the Legion, essentially. So the last mill building in the Pleasant Street stretch. And so
Then from here, I mean, from right out here?
from Eastworks down Pleasant Street all the way down to the end of the corridor, almost to
Oh, it
the
doesn't
Legion.
include anything on this side?
Not, well, I'll get there.
Okay.
So, so what we're requesting for the CPA funds is to better connect the rail trail to the mill building. So with this 3rd funding from the MassWorks, plus the 1.5 that we received in 2013, we're intending to go out to bid within the next couple months here. And this will be a retaining wall. So the MassWorks grant is going to pay for retaining wall, drainage, stormwater, and parking on the back side of the mills that's on the rail trail side for about 400 spaces. This is going to allow those mill owners to do full economic build out of this building, of their buildings. And that's a lot of what the MassWorks grant is tied to. It has to be a public-private partnership. It has to be a public-private project in order for it to even qualify under MassWorks. That's a huge part of even why it's eligible. With the $400,000 from the CPA, we're going to use that to enhance the recreation components and better connect the recreation resource to this going to be upgraded economic development area. So we'll be adding at least 3 connections from the bike trail to this mill area. There'll be one down by Eastworks, one down probably near Mill 180, and one in the middle somewhere near where the Brickyard, the abandoned brewery is. These are going to be connectors. I think at this point the design is 2 of them will be, you'll be able to bike up them, so you can literally ride your bike from the trail up into the area. It's going to be at a grade and at a slope that's going to be handicap accessible, but also allow for bicyclists to go up. The 3rd connection likely is going to be a staircase with a groove in it so that you can walk your bike up and still walk up. So that's the thought at this point. We're meeting with the designers tomorrow to sort of start finalizing some of the design aspects.
So did you actually receive the grant because of this?
We did receive the grant
You got
because
the
of this.
grant.
Correct.
Fantastic.
So we've gotten a lot of money from MassWorks. And this
How
last,
did you manage?
huh?
I just can't believe we get this kind of money. That's a lot of money in 10 years or 14 years.
In 3 years.
3 years.
3
Well,
years.
starting with 2002, you got 2.5.
2012.
12? That was 12? I
That's
thought it was
12.
12, 13, 14.
Oh, my mistake.
12, 13, 14. So we got
I've heard
funded
two.
3 consecutive years out of the MassWorks program.
And Jessica, just, I think it's worth mentioning how much the utilities put in.
Right.
Correct.
The
So with-
utilities
so-
contributed?
Absolutely. So Wamiko, we paid them out of the first round about $1.6 million total to do complete upgrade of all of the electrical systems, vary all the electrical systems, and demo all of the old systems, which were sparking and, causing all sorts of problems.
That's interrupted, that the fire department was very happy with that. That was, I know,
That was-
going back if my...
Absolutely. They couldn't get their trucks to access the back residential units because the overhead wires were conflicting with the truck access. So that was big to have all of that demoed. In addition, Wamiko upgraded all of the outside systems that feed this area. So all of this work that you saw happening on Union Street recently, they've been upgrading substations throughout the city. That was stuff that was about 10 years down on their priority list. But because of this project, they came forward and they upgraded all of the city systems so that, in the case of emergency, our systems are not going to go down as frequently, is how they explained it. So they've invested a huge amount of time, energy, and money in
It's
upgrading
fantastic.
systems.
And this is just fantastic. To me, this is exactly what the CPA funding should do, leverage other funding grants. And I have to compliment you. That's incredible money, and I know it's your office that runs these grants, am I correct? Nice work.
Thank you.
Wow, it's going to be beautiful. And I know we spend a lot of money out of the CPA, but as I was saying to Joe, it's there for a reason, and we can only use it for these reasons. So let's use it. Sitting there gaining interest, that's nice, but we have to use it. And I'm happy to see, well, first of all, leveraging $2.9 million. I mean, how could you say no to that? Spending 4 to get 2.9.
It's
That's
actually
pretty good.
7.2 total, really.
Well, yeah.
For 3 years.
Well, but you
So,
did,
yeah.
for this
last-
round,
for this round.
on the other rounds, did we have to contribute at all?
No, we didn't. We didn't. The mill owners put in a substantial amount of money. They basically paid for the pre-design for the project, so they put in around, I don't want to speak for them, but I'd say somewhere between $100,000 to $200,000 of their own money to pay for the design.
So that works to the public-private.
Exactly.
partnership.
And then they're putting in major investment in their buildings in anticipation of this happening in the spring. And, it really is going to allow them to do full build out of their buildings. They need the parking. The tenants are like, we'd love to be here, but we have a client base, and if we can't guarantee that our clients have a place to park, we're not interested in this building. The other interesting thing from an economic standpoint is just the electricity alone with their tenants. The mill owners are coming to me and saying, we can now attract tenants because we have such an upgrade, because they had to upgrade their own electrical systems to meet the new public infrastructure. So they all invested in their own buildings, completely upgrading the electrical, all of the mill owners in that stretch. They can now get tenants with a plug-and-play system. They don't have to go scurrying around the nation looking for certain transformers to downgrade the electrical to meet the system. So there was a very complex for some of them when they had tenants with very specific electrical needs. They're trying to make it work. Now it's like, boom, they can just have somebody move in and it's really easy for them. So they're already excited about the new electrical and how that's impacted them. So, but back to the CPA. So the other part of the CPA request is not only the connectors, but then providing lighting all the way down to Union Street. And that's where the project gets expanded. So this is something that the Rail Trail Committee has been talking about. I've seen it in past planning documents of trying to light this section of
Sort of
corridor.
like street lighting?
Sort of. I mean, we're
They're
gonna.
smaller,
I'm gonna see the designs tomorrow. I'm thinking it's gonna be something a little bit smaller, but I
like
need
a vertical pole, like old New England kind of light,
maybe,
Stockbridge kind of light.
maybe. I need to see what the designs are for tomorrow. I'll have a better sense of
Who's
what
doing
it's.
this? Canon?
Rob Levesque Associates out of Westfield. It's the initial designer that the mill owners hired in the
Oh, really?
beginning.
And
So
he's
they
doing
hired
this,
him, and
he's doing for us.
and we've continued with him because he knew the site and he had all the information, so it's just easy for us to continue working.
I assume you'll also look in, Jessica, to like vandalism proof, or I don't know if anything's
We
vandalism
are-
proof, but at least vandalism.
Right, talked
Because
about
it is a kind of a desolate.
how can we, what can we do to treat the retaining wall to prevent graffiti? What are certain things that we can do? And we've had some discussions with the Rail Trail Committee about how do we keep the maintenance pretty minimal down in this area as well. So we came up with a plan to talk to Councilor Hagan's comment regarding how the mill owners are contributing. So they have so the mill owners, the three mill owners from Mill 180, Eastworks, and the Brickyard have at this point agreed to provide a minimum of $3,000 annually to the Friends of the Manhan Rail Trail to be used by the Friends group to upkeep and maintain this improved section of the corridor. And then they're gonna figure out sort of the paperwork and the invoicing. But they mentioned at the rail trail meeting that this is just the amount of money that they'll put in the first year. They could potentially, increase over time up to $5,000 a year if that's what the corridor needs. They're committed to making sure that this section looks good. It only helps benefit them if it's maintained properly. So they're willing to put in the money to the Friends group, have the Friends do the work, but they're gonna contribute to that. So that's additional money that's coming in from them to maintain it, which I think is great.
And I know they also mentioned the CPA that they would, after the 3,000, they would look at if there was a need for more.
Exactly.
That was also
Exactly.
mentioned in the committee.
Right. And they're still thinking above and beyond this, is there a way that we can do selective trimming to get better views of the pond? So, they've got a whole continuation of ideas of how to improve this area that's not incorporated in this project at this time.
When's the project date of completion?
So if all goes according to plan, the hope is that everything would be ready by June 30th, 2016.
Okay.
So we're hoping to have most of it completed this year, but we'll see how things go. It's a mill site. We don't know what we're going to hit. We don't know what could be buried back there that we're unaware of. So,
There's no hazardous materials.
don't say that. So, don't write that down.
Sorry, it went out in another world.
That's okay.
It's real.
Well, we don't know of anything there.
We don't know, but we have contingency built into our budget for,
Well, there you go.
in case we hit
Excellent.
something. So we're prepared, in case we hit something we're not prepared for.
I was in favor of this as soon as you told me we got 10.9 if we get 400. You had me right there. You didn't have to do anything.
I had you at the line.
Well, that you always do. Melissa, how much is left in CPA? Am I reading it?
Oh, I didn't bring the.
Well,
I
this says
probably
here,
have
is
it.
this what it's saying?
I have it.
I think it's
This is Jamie's.
Yeah, it's on the request.
988,000? Is that what's remaining set aside in undesignated fund account, or is that before this is taken on? That's in this letter from Jamie.
Well, that was dated December 23rd, and he said as of the 18th, as of the 18th, there was 552.8 remaining set aside in the open space account, and 988,054 remaining set aside in the undesignated fund.
So what I'm
The appropriate
assuming is
measures.
we're subtracting this from that, so there'd be 588, am I right? Or-
That's how I would
Yeah.
interpret it because I hadn't moved yet.
Right.
Okay, good. But,
I don't know, but that's what I would think.
that the
The question is, was that in there, is that including is that including the request for 4, or was that before it?
I can certainly clarify and let you know.
I think you should for the council, but to me, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I don't want the money to sit there. I want it to be used, and this is a great way to use it.
Because I know the committee did set aside the 400, obviously doesn't have the authority to appropriate it, so they did set it aside, so it may...
It's Dan saying it may have been already subtracted because they set it aside, no?
Right, in other words, they made a commitment for her to apply for the grant that we would, at least, we would probably...
You would know that if you got some other project in and you knew that.
How much is in the CPA account now?
We're not sure.
But his question is
Yeah.
like, the request here is for 400.
Yeah.
So he's wondering if those are the balances
After?
the 400, but to me, it would seem the other way, because if you look at the date of this, it would be, that's what's in there now, and then they're requesting the 4, but we'll verify it.
That's just the mass.
It's all right. It's just, I was just curious. When do we normally receive the money from the state? Is that already in that account?
What's that? The state, it's a reimbursement program.
No, I'm talking
the
about
CPA.
Oh,
CPA
sorry.
funding that we normally get from the state. Has that already been put in? So this is what's left for the whole year.
There was.
Melissa, doesn't something come at the end, like a small bonus or something that we can't use?
Already in.
That's already,
Cannot use
but we
it.
can't use it, right? So it's in that number, it's just you can't use it.
Okay.
Remaining in the open space account.
Separate parts of CPA.
And then 9, 8.
There's 3 pop.
Well, I'm ready to move it. I don't know.
Barbara,
if you want to wait.
one,
There's open space, historic, and
I
housing.
assume the rail trail committee was supportive.
What?
Just,
No, they hate the idea.
Yeah, we want to be kept up to date with the design.
Right, so you're still involved with the
Right.
design aspects, or?
Yeah, we just want to make
or
sure
at
it's
least-
easy to maintain, but
This
we're
doesn't talk
very
about what's
glad
that
to
to
get
the other, like,
financial
historic
support from
preservation
developers.
I was gonna say,
Of
that's
course, we
just-
want to have
Well, it talks about
trail
open space.
access the buildings.
Because that's what he's using.
Well, we
That's what I mean.
had one access point, at, trying to get the people to go up, but.
I actually rode my bike up it once and it was
Yeah,
hard.
but it was like you had to
There's
go up through the
different
back and behind the building,
we-
so
That one,
this
the one
is
that they're
just a
talking
good
about.
thing.
And there's a couple of
Because there's
self-created paths.
Yeah, recreation.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
people have-
walked down there.
Yeah, I think one was partially created by the Rail Trail
Open
Committee or
space.
sort
We had one,
of, but
yeah,
there's been
but
others
there's
that are
others.
just, people have
Really
created
three.
their own.
Recreation
It's
doesn't.
supposed to be years before we get
It's part
another
of open
Mass Works
space.
grant.
So we don't
You know,
the-
I don't know.
Did they also
have
fund,
ideas,
was that the
but
same group
that
that funded the pond?
No.
That's different.
He's talking
Well, keep getting the grants, great.
47.
What
Do you wanna wait on it?
well, I will, what I'd like to do is only wait in the sense that I will set a public hearing at the next city council meeting,
When's that?
which is the 21st.
So it's the first meeting in February will be.
February 20, so you'll
I'll
set
set
it at the
it,
21st?
so it'll be the first meeting in February. I'll leave this open,
Oh, you're January 21st.
I'm sorry, January.
Okay.
January 21st, I'll set a public hearing
For the first meeting
in February. But I'll leave it open so that we do have the 28th of subcommittee meeting, the 28th, because by then Counselor Kwasinski would be back, and by then we'll have definite figures on what the CPA has. Again, I'm very fully supportive of it. The CPA committee was unanimous of those present. I think there were a couple members missing, but everybody present was for it, so.
I'm always.
And I'm for it, so it's just a matter of,
I find it
I'd like
very
to see
hard.
Counselor Kwasinski if he has questions waived.
That's fine.
But, and we can't move it any sooner than that anyway.
That's okay, we're okay, we're in bid document phase, and we'll probably go out to bid in February, so as
Well,
long as
we
the funds
can't
are
get
ready
it
by
any
the time we're
faster.
ready to
That would be
award
the
it,
earliest.
We could, the earliest we
Anyway,
could
that's
do
what I said, we
it.
can't do it
Even if we
any-
voted yes tonight,
Right.
we can't go any faster,
it's
so letting
fine.
JP.
Yep, it's
But my
fine.
minutes, I'll try to make them detailed so people can read it.
He'll read it in.
400 to get 2.9.
And I can have him when I see JP, if, so you don't have to come, I mean, you can come on the 28th, but if he has any question, I'll kind of say maybe you could, he
Just let
could
me
get
know,
us.
I'm happy to be here if you need
Get him
to.
to yours or if you want to.
CPA, you can't say like,
Sounds
oh,
fantastic. Thank you, Justin.
we have that.
Very
Thank you
nice
so
work,
much. Get that now.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fire and ambulance department, what do they want?
He's gonna,
Second meeting in February? First meeting.
first meeting in February.
Got it.
When is that first meeting? First?
February,
I think it's
Use it, right,
I'll be
yeah.
at a conference, so.
Okay.
Do you need anything else
I'll
from me,
look
Mary, or are you good?
It's just a lot of numbers here. I may end up.
You need to call me, just let me know.
Okay, yeah,
Email
she's
me
got your
tomorrow.
number.
Okay.
Yeah, you can stick those in my box or,
Okay. The,
but you can put it in my
Small
box.
stuff. Okay, I'll put it in your box.
Okay.
Thanks, Barbara.
Yeah, tomorrow?
Yeah, February,
Just check the board. You know the board. CPA, yeah.
hey,
no,
Barbara?
They meet, because I know, because
It's,
the,
you're away what days? The
I have a conference.
the
4th, 6th, so it is that Wednesday.
Past Comic Trust.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Barbara.
Are going to be before the CPA asking for money for their fully accessible trail system at Brickyard Brook.
When's your next meeting?
Tomorrow night,
Yeah, I thought it was tomorrow night, yeah.
CPA?
CPA.
CPA.
I think Brickyard,
You've got Past Comic Trust, and then you've got soccer fields at
soccer fields at,
Nonatuck.
and I think the new mill over here is looking for, just sent a letter, maybe.
second Thursday?
I think it's the, well, it must be the 3rd Thursday, or the 2nd.
Third Thursday?
Just to,
Right,
I know it's tomorrow night.
right. But I mean, it is like that standard.
Yes, it's
one.
always that standard.
Okay.
3 meetings in a row this
And you're at
Yeah,
6?
it's 3 days in a row I'm out in this cold weather deal.
Oh, it's been horrible. 6
So, yeah, it
o'clock,
must be the 3rd, because there was the first was the
You guys are at 6 or 6:30?
6:30.
6:30.
Here?
Downstairs.
Here is an energy advisor.
Downstairs, I think it's the, I don't know, I always get A and B, it's the one nearest the planner.
The middle one is B.
Right.
That's
okay.
B.
B.
So this 400,000 that has been earmarked by the CPA.
Yes.
Now,
Is not
Just-
part of the 7.2 million.
it's not part, so it would be the 7.2 million.
7.2 million is what was received from grants.
And so
From
that would
phase
be
one,
like
2,
an
and
extra
3.
4. That would be like the cities, like the local match, the skin of the game, showing that.
Well, it was on the 3rd. The first was
For
the
the third, for
2.7.
phase 3, yeah.
Right, and it was received. If we didn't put any skin up, it wouldn't have been received. That was for the 2.99.
It was like the 2.99.
Right, that was the
Right.
third phase.
And that was the
That's
third
only,
phase.
That's the only buck the city popped in.
And is third phase, so we haven't really started construction of third phase.
No, yeah.
Mary, we can just, we just want to move on to the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Your-
let's-
your
questions
meeting
after
is
the
After, I don't care
that's
how,
right. Oh.
we have one more agenda item. that's
Okay, sorry.
On the last item tonight is an $8,000 request from the fire department, I guess, for various items of unanticipated expenditures, such as air hoses, electrical cords, radios, telephones.
And I didn't ask
Repairs to
Chief
vehicle.
Monitor to be here, because I thought it was a pretty detailed
Right.
itemization.
No, he gave a good 6
It's like a
tires
shopping
on.
list.
Right. 6 tires on the ambulance,
Right.
one complete set of tires, spare inventory. I assume you've had, obviously, I'll let you talk to the mayor, but I assume you had conversation with the chief and, or,
Right. And what's happening is, obviously he has built-in budget lines for repair and maintenance and communications and repairs to vehicles. But he's been going through his repair lines pretty darn fast. So, and I hope it's all right with the, with the finance subcommittee, but I didn't ask him to be here tonight, figuring this was pretty itemized and it's all really just basic standard things, but he's pretty much reduced his line items on other repairs for the first half of the fiscal year, and this is what he's requesting, and it's out of the fire budget and the ambulance budget.
okay.
Makes sense, we don't have large maintenance and repair budgets in there, and with the assumption, that's what we use the reserve fund if we get an emergency. You can't, obviously we have to do it, I have no questions, it's obvious.
No, to me, if the fire department needs it, we gotta have fire trucks.
Yeah, we don't need,
Especially the ambulance.
we don't need them to talk to
You
anybody.
can have tires on
And at
the
my
ambulance.
stage, maybe I need the
You
ambulance.
might want tires on the
Right, on
ambulance.
the ambulance.
But if you
Okay.
want, I'll have the chief there for the full council.
I don't.
Yeah, what I'll do is, I think we can, again, I'll wait till I get a motion from Councilor Riss, which I'm sure will be coming very shortly. but,
Move, we accept.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. 2-0. So what I'll do is set the public hearing at the next meeting and
First in February.
for the 1st of, I think we decided it was the 4th.
That's when the public hearing is, yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Just one quick item. Dan, we were given a budget here for the council, which
We should put it on the next agenda.
we'll put it on either the agenda or we'll bring it up. Maybe you can bring it up.
When does the mayor need it?
I think it
Our
was
dates are
February
March.
19th was the date, or the 14th, or 16th. It was like February,
She
mid-February.
did give you the little sheet in there?
I think Barbara didn't, but she did send me an email that she said it'd be here, and I think she said that you wanted everything in by, I think it was like the 16th or
Yeah.
19th. I have it on my email.
Well, I would suggest,
We have to the second, she said we have to the second meeting in February to approve it. That's-
I think we could get this done from the 28th, and it doesn't need a public hearing.
Right.
Just move it.
So,
I think we should ask Barbara to provide the council with some time.
yes, for the next,
Well, because then we could talk about it
right.
at our next finance meeting.
Right, and get it to. Anyway, that's something just so you can look over between now and next Wednesday, and I'll talk to Barbara about putting it on the agenda, or have Joe put it on, or you can do
Did she put it on your?
I don't know if we,
Put it on your
in the
agenda?
past, we haven't always put it on the agenda. In the past, I think it's just been, like myself as chair of finance, I have asked that we've got the request from the mayor to get budget requests in, and that I'd like to I'll ask the council for the authority to send it to the subcommittee for review. Because then eventually, we do always have the city council bless it, the whole council.
Well, that would be next week.
Right, next Wednesday.
Right.
I'll do that, so.
Okay, we done?
Yeah, we're done unless there's something else you have. Let me shut off the tape here. Motion to adjourn?